Noble of Green Enterprise. I could not be more honored and excited to be able to bring you this conversation today. These brothers truly need no introduction, but I'm gonna try and do it anyway. On the one hand, we're here with a legend, literally the most influential person in hip hop. Among many things, he's a visual artist, a filmmaker, hip hop icon, and historian, visionary and architect of the culture. He was the bridge between graffiti and mainstream art in New York in the 70s and 80s, the bridge between our culture and the world as the host of UNTV Raps. And today we're focusing on his role as the bridge from the ugly legacy of cannabis prohibition to justice, empowerment, and what they've deemed as entrepreneurial activism, a really, really dope concept. Also joined by Bernard Noble, a brother, who was severely impacted by draconian cannabis prohibition laws. And they've taken something that has had a really, really ugly history, particularly for our people, and are turning into something that's really, really beautiful, something that's really going to educate a lot of people, and something that's really going to help our culture, help our people, and move the culture forward. So it's an absolute honor and pleasure for me to welcome today Fab Five Freddy and Mr. Bernard Noble to Green Enterprise. Brothers, it is very good to be with y'all.
Thank you very much, man. That was an introduction like no other. Thank you.
Yeah, that was
glad to be
here. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
No problem. So I want to, let's get into the background of it, right? And Bernard, I want to start with you because your story is so important and so powerful. For any of us out there or any people out there who don't know your story and how cannabis prohibition impacted you, just tell us from the beginning. Just take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Bernard Noble. I'm an original resident of Louisiana. I was, to jump ahead, I was sentenced, tried, and convicted for 2 joints here in Louisiana, and was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months, mandatory minimum laws that we have here in Louisiana. So I'm really excited to have this platform here today to use my voice. It's still trying to soak into my head, but I wanna give a big thanks up to Fab Five Freddy, Curaleaf, for just this invite. It's overwhelming, and I'm just here to try to make a change out of all of this pain I've been through.
Amen. I Fab Five Freddy, you grew up in an environment, I've been researching a little bit. I know that you grew up in an environment where cannabis was very much a part of the culture, particularly jazz culture, sort of in a different way, right? So can you just tell us about your early experiences in cannabis and your perception of cannabis and how it has evolved up to this point?
Sure. I guess in the movie Grass is Greener, which was a kind of a major advanced level education for me, that film I made, I gave a snapshot of my background. I grew up around some intelligent family, friends of my dad. They were creatives, they were intelligent thinkers, and they were serious cannabis aficionados. But it was a thing in the house where we had to keep it on the low that my dad dealt with this, because the perceptions and the lies told around the plant, like kids would tease you, like when we were little, your daddy smoked them reefers. And I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was like a really bad thing that we knew. Like, I was like, wow. But then, as I grew older, luckily there was a lot of stuff to read, and my dad had all kind of information in the house. There was clearly on the counterculture side, people that were like supported the plant, said that there was so much goodness in this plant, but it was painted to be like the horrendous, like evil drug that was the gateway to, you smoke a joint and then want to go and shoot heroin and stuff. So, knowing that that was the kind of background that I had, that cannabis had, I kind of was really curious and wanted to find out more and then share the information with the people. And I got the chance to make a film that showed the history, showed the kind of connection to America's music, which I found fascinating, like the earliest jazz musicians and the creators, which started in Louisiana and then came up to Harlem and really developed and became America's music. The plant was connected, and racists didn't want to see people coming together to celebrate this music. And so they came up with a whole bunch of lies that really demonized and criminalized cannabis. And then they focused on locking up people of color and people from the counterculture that were going against things in the system. So that's the history of cannabis that I grew up around, that I learned to, that I got to understand. But then happily seeing those changes happen right now while we're alive and living, and wanted to jump in and take part in it. And that all led me to do what we're doing now. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you all are taking something that has been stigmatized, as you said, and systemically used against our people and our communities to literally marginalize our communities, right? And what you're doing with the brand Be Noble is really creating awareness and really powerful opportunities from it. And I think that, the brand itself is steeped in powerful messagery and powerful imagery, whether it be the 2-joint packaging or even the 713 launch date. And I think that's really cool. So both of y'all, would you just tell us about, the whole concept? I was reading and I saw the words entrepreneurial activism, and I couldn't.
Yeah, that was something I when I really began to think, it was like, and literally the film I made began to kind of haunt me once we made all the edits. And then it's like this entity that, Netflix pushed out into, like, God, over 80 countries, and they subtitled the film in over 20 different languages. And then you watch the film as a viewer, not as the filmmaker, and things that Killer Mike said about this is an opportunity to create generational wealth. This is a way to like get a piece of the reparations that we should have gotten. There was so many little factoids that I learned about, and also the gross criminal misjustice that affected Bernard. I'm like, how could I do both of these things? And the idea came to create this brand in support of Bernard, to tell his story, reflective of so many others that have been through this, lives damaged, seriously impacted. And so that became an idea that we then got with my team. We've been working on this for literally not long after Bernard walked out of that prison. I met him the first time there, saw what a nice guy he was. And then we just started having these conversations, and I've kept them abreast of what we've been looking to do for the last 2 years. And then Curaleaf popped into the picture, aggressively wanting to make a deal with us. And it's been the most amazing thing, because it was bigger than I had expected to get to work with this company, put out a fine product. I should also say, there's a parent company of the Be Noble brand, which is called Revolution. And we're going to develop other brands that all have a cause-connected issue to it, so we can give back some money to issues that we need to address. So this is the first of hopefully many. And Bernard has been just down with the whole thing. I've gotten to know him. He just was in New York a week ago for the launch and everything, and he just was seeing the city. I took him all over the Bronx, and we drove up and down Times Square. He was just filming it all and really enjoying it and taking it all in. I knew it was going to be more than he could expect, because he's never really spent this kind of time in New York with somebody that can really take him through it all. But it's been fascinating to really get more from him about the specifics. I mean, he could tell you, I didn't really know what hard labor really meant until Bernard can tell you they wanted him to pick cotton and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And Bernard could speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, let's go there, Bernard. Let's go there.
So yeah, like he was saying, man, for the moment that Fab ran into me coming out of prison, there was truly a new beginning for me. And also, like he said, we we worked on this like literally since I've been out of prison, and I had an idea of what my name, my two initials would look like connected together. And we dibbed and dabbed, and I wanted to see how my initials looked like. I always seen letters connected together. So Fab came up with this Fire Be Noble brand, and here we go. And that was the good part. But
Yeah, but
being
Bernard, tell him what it was like when those guards wanted you to pick things out of the ground. Like, please give them that picture so they can hear that.
yeah, I'm about to start on it now. So my as I, got to this prison, I never knew it would be anything like that. Hard labor is a misconcept for people out here that don't know. So in this particular prison in LaSalle, um, right outside of some rural part of Mississippi, I believe it is. Um, I was being taken out on the work detail, which I thought I was going to pick up trash or wash dishes at a school. So no, long and behold, when they opened the doors on the van where we couldn't see outside, I gets out, wiping my eyes, and when I look up, it looks like it's snowing outside because I'd never seen so much cotton. I see all kind of black and brown men. So I was like, "What's up? What we doing here?" The white guy told me, it was like, "Well, boy, this is where you got to be to pick cotton." So immediately, I looked up at him, and it was a word fight. He called me a boy, and I told him, "Well, boss, I got 14 motherfucking years up in this place, and I'm not picking no fucking cotton." So hard labor, they wanted us to pick cotton, pick beans, serve them to the community of that little hick town. And it manipulated me so much with the modern day slavery that they wanted me to participate in. I told them I just went cuckoo. I went to tell them they could kiss my ass and bring me to my room, because that was the hole, which is a 10 by 10 room. And I had learned to do more than 120 days at a time in there, refusing to be a modern day slave.
So just to, that's hard to bring this like back to the imagery. Two joints.
In the streets of Louisiana, man, you like, I mean, the depth of this trash bag, what they try to incriminate me on to make me look like the big $5 kingpin here in New Orleans. Man, you couldn't get our baddest girl. I mean, low, cheap girl with what they tried to rap on me. So the district attorney that we had at the time, I believe it was a lot of manipulation on people of color, because I was so used to going through this shit, it was normal. And when he finally got me in there and my life had took a change, that shit didn't feel so normal no more. I didn't know what to do. My parents didn't have no money. I was working at I had a little thing going in Missouri. But when this Italian man got his hand on me, man, for these $5, he wanted to skate a people here. He wanted to make a statement. But now it's gonna be a time now. It's a time for me to turn this shit around, bro. So I'm super excited about everything that's going on. All of the hell that I went through. I mean, I went through some hell, bro. I learned actually how to turn into somebody that I knew I couldn't bring home. So I was caught up in between manipulating myself on my sanity and beating the shit out these cats. And that's just the way it is. You live, you die, or you get turned into a girl. And those other two wasn't no option for me, bro. So I did what I had to do. I made it. Fab showed up at the end of the tunnel when I thought I ain't have no life. So here we go, baby. Be noble all the way.
Man, this is so important. Like, your story is so important for everybody to hear, right? Because, a lot of times a state is legalizing, or if you're somewhere like California, a city is legalizing, you hear the concept of social equity, and then you hear about systemic oppression, you hear about marginalized outcomes. But what people don't hear is how that oppression basically manifested itself in Louisiana to you being a new slave over two joints.
I just want to say, I just want to jump in for a second. You know, one of the inspirations film-wise was the documentary that Ava DuVernay made, also on Netflix, called The 13th, which got into this idea of the 13th Amendment, which technically ended slavery, but then she showed how through the American prison system, slavery is still going on. Like they use prison labor for dozens and dozens of products and major corporations. And then you have for-profit prisons and this desire to keep those prisons filled in these little towns in different places in the South, that these prisons become the big money earners in these towns. So it was an up close and personal understanding like that even a former prosecutor that I interviewed in my film Grass is Greener was like, man, it's probably one of the reasons why he stopped being a prosecutor and became a defense attorney, because he just was shocked at just how unfair those laws were, particularly when it came to people of color. And these are things that motivated me. It was kind of haunting me, like that I have to do something. And then another amazing irony, I've got a friend, a really good friend. His name is Daniel Loeb. Daniel is a very successful Wall Street guy. He's a hedge fund investor, trader. And Daniel, as a charity, got into criminal justice reform. And like 5 years before I even had the idea to make this film, he invited me to a gathering to announce him getting involved in criminal justice reform. With the heads of all the major criminal justice organizations were gathered, from the Innocence Project and the people from Families Against Mandatory Minimums, all these major orgs. And one of the things that was brought up was this man in Louisiana that was given a 13-year sentence for 2 joints. And I was like, what? Well, I had literally forgotten that. I'm working on the film. I looked at a couple of different cases to focus on, to look at the horrors of the criminal justice system. I picked Bernard's case, totally forgot that my friend had brought this up several years before. And then, interviewing Bernard's family was an emotional moment. His mom and his sister started crying when they were telling the story. It was really shocking. And then Bernard was still in prison. And then luckily, he finally got a parole. Come to find out that this guy, Dan Loeb, had worked behind the scenes, met with the governor, met with all these people, did all these behind the scenes moves that assisted in Bernard finally getting parole. So it was it was an amazing thing how he was coming at me from 2 different ways. And so to be able to hang out with him and to work with him now is a special situation that was really put together by the Most High, whoever that may be. And so here we are. So it's special on so many levels.
That's amazing, and big shout to Dan Lowe for his assistance and everything that he did. That's amazing. But like, Bernard, you were locked up, right, at a time where like these waves of legalization are happening, right? So were you aware at the time? I mean, like, I just think to myself, you locked up, you in prison for 2 joints. And at the same time, you turn on CNN or some of the other mainstream channels, and all you hear is about this state just legalized, or this place is contemplating legalizing, and it's going to make X amount of billionaires. It's going to be a $20 billion industry. So what is it like, if you were aware while you were inside, what is it like to know that the country's moving forward in this way, and what we're moving forward on is literally the very thing and the very reason that you were behind bars?
What I've been getting beat up for a long time in my life. The plan has been on earth before who knows when. And to be a part of something I've been criticized for, I hid behind buildings, I ducked under houses and shit to just take a little puff. And to see it evolve the way that it's doing now, I'm grateful, and I'm actually excited to say that if I use myself as a sacrifice to maybe get a message across, I'm excited for all the pain that I went through, because this is where I need to be. I wouldn't have gotten here if I hadn't been through all this torment. It was super, super rough. I thought that was the end of the road for me, but um, I made it with the strength of, like Fab say, the highest. And I just want to give big thanks up, to Dan Lowe, Jason Flum, how them guys got involved with my life. And it's still so exciting. I don't get it. So all of the stuff that I've been through, bro, I'm happy to be here today. Um, I'm a I'm a picture of poverty, and I just want to show my people of different colors that, hey, it can happen. It can really happen, and I'm gonna use this platform to encourage. I'm gonna use my platform to be motivating. It's the Be Noble logo. Be educated, be informed, and let's be family. Let's be together. Let's be one. And this exciting journey, I'm gonna learn a lot about the plant, the medical benefits of I never knew about. So I'm super excited. So to sum it up, I took one for the team, and I'm happy. I'm here, and I'm ready to be noble.
That's right, baby. Bernard all day. The first thing in my film, Grass is Greener, once again, when he walks out of that prison into his family's arms, that's one of the things he says. He says, man, I see on TV all this stuff happening with cannabis. But then he says there was people in prison for less than 2 joints that have been criminalized harshly. And I mean, his confusion that he spoke to when he walked out of prison is what so many people, I think, still need to understand, that these injustices are going on in too many prisons in America. Too many, I mean, just what happened to Sha'Carri Richardson. Okay, rules are rules, but this is a harmless plant that has killed no one ever. Alcohol is killing people right now. And Sha'Carri Richardson, as we know, the track star, getting news that her mom passed, she didn't go to take a shot of Hennessy. She wanted to indulge in some cannabis to calm her down, and now she's being penalized. And this is like one of many examples that too often happen to people of color that the Be Noble brand is going to speak to, is going to address. And on top of that, the cannabis in the pre-rolls is fire. So it's like you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The weed is dope, no pun intended.
Yo, you're killing multiple birds with 1 stone, honestly, because I know another dope thing that you guys are doing is basically you've earmarked 10% of all of your proceeds to give back to some really cool organizations and causes who are doing work when it comes to restorative justice in cannabis or social equity in cannabis. So tell us a little bit about that and why it's so important to support those organizations.
Well, that was the concept that we came up with. We wanted to give back, of course, take care of Bernard Noble, and then to give to these orgs and to help them. And so because we are a national brand, we're in 2 states now, we're going to be nationwide everywhere where fine cannabis is available by the end of the summer, early fall. We're going to target orgs in different states and national orgs that are fighting to help formerly incarcerated nonviolent cannabis offenders get on their feet, to learn how to participate in this business. Bernard is going to go through a lot of it. He's so eager to learn more. As I've been feeding him stuff about the plant, indicas, sativas, all the pieces of this amazing, powerful plant that we in America have not yet fully been able to research. I understand that Israel has done some of the most advanced cannabis research, but whereas we have an opioid epidemic killing people, athletes getting addicted to opioids to get the pain out of their bodies, cannabis is super beneficial on so many levels. And it's shocking when I go off on my thing with people, explain how each individual person, every human being, has a specific nervous system, the endocannabinoid system, just for cannabis receptors in our bodies, put there specifically for the plant. It's astonishing. And so there's so much info that I've learned. Once again, a big a learning process in making this film, flying around the country, going to Jamaica, a place where I spent a lot of time, and like where it's used as a religious sacrament by the Rastas, but still had been criminalized for too long. Once again, following wrong US policies, which had this massive influence over the entire world. That's the reason cannabis is criminalized in so many other countries, because of US influence. When the United Nations was formed, they forced all these countries to criminalize cannabis so that they can become members, is what I learned. Harry Anslinger, the man that was behind the criminalization, he had a lot of influence. If you guys saw the movie, the United States versus Billie Holiday, he was responsible for the death of Billie Holiday by targeting her. He targeted the specific musicians making jazz, infecting, changing culture. And literally Billie Holiday, who wasn't just cannabis, she was a known heroin addict. But when you have a person with heroin and they get incarcerated, you're supposed to give them medicine treatment. And he had her handcuffed to a bed. She couldn't get, and that's where Billie Holiday died. So I can go on and on about, like why we need to turn this around. And we're in the process of doing that, but we're still climbing. It's still an uphill battle. And we hope that Be Noble helps raise that awareness. You can click on be-noble.com. A site just went live, and you can see some information, and we'll be pumping more on the website, et cetera, et cetera. So we can just get people up to speed about what we're doing. As Bernard, once again, learns more about the plant, he'll be speaking to people from schools to prisons, and just sharing that story so we can turn all this around.
For sure. My last question for you both, and this one is a two-parter. Speaking of turning the page and moving forward, 7/13 is not only a monumental day for Be Noble, the brand, but also this morning we learned that we're going to see the draft of leader Chuck Schumer of the United States Senate, his bill for comprehensive cannabis legalization today. So it's like, how does that make you? How does that make you feel, man?
Wow. Woo. Go ahead, Bernard.
I mean, that's a surprise to me. I'm just thankful. It's millions of Black and brown people that's been left behind. So I'm way up with excitement. They've taught me to love my last name so much so I can be the informative to my people. I can be educating to them. So we will no longer be up under the trickery and the scrutinism with the cannabis, and I'm just super excited, bro. I'm super, super excited to use this platform. I don't have to be scared anymore now. So it's a celebration. It really is, with all the pain I went through. Like I said, big ups to the people that stuck with me. It's millions of people that don't get this chance. I'm super, super excited. The laws are in place like they should be should have been hundreds of years ago. But this is America, and I guess these are the steps and hurdles that we have to jump through in life. So the progress is cool. Even law is learning how to be noble now.
That's right. And one of my plans that I've been thinking, I met Vice President Kamala Harris several years ago when she was the Attorney General in California. And I'm planning and hoping to get with our New York State Senator Chuck Schumer so we could have a screening in the White House for Joe and Kamala to show them grass is greener, to meet Bernard, and to really realize, because a lot of people just don't know how much racism was involved in these cannabis laws. I mean, it was revelatory for so many people. So that's a big part of our mission, man. And thanks for bringing that up, because I wasn't aware of that. But Crystal Peoples-Stokes, the New York representative that authored the bill that we now have in New York, came down from Albany to our launch event last week, which was a super important symbol that she supported, because when you have big corporate cannabis, often there's a little bit of a divide. But when she understood and she got up and spoke to what Curaleaf is doing, how they're doing it in the right way, in an equitable way, and putting their name and their voice behind this, is super epic. And our journey is just beginning. So me and Bernard gonna do, and by the way, these are great questions, and thank you for being so up on all that's going on in this fight. Thank you.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for being here, Bernard, Fab. Much love to Curaleaf. Much love to Khadijah Tribble. All the best. All the success to y'all. Wish y'all brothers much success. I will be supporting your business as I make my way to the states where it's available. And for anybody who missed it, because they need to know. Again, how can they follow the progress of Revolution? How can they follow the progress of Be Noble? How can they follow your progress, Bernard? How can they follow you if they don't know Mr. Freddy?
Well, right now, like I said, be-noble.com. The website just went live. We just put up the first things. We got, and that will be a platform. We have the Be Noble Official on Instagram. That's the site, Be Noble Official on Instagram and Twitter. And so we will be pushing out information on the Curaleaf site. We will be loud, we will be proud, we will be heard, and we will be pushing all them social media buttons to push this information out as we continue on our journey. Once again, available today in Massachusetts and Maryland, wherever fine cannabis is sold, baby. Get your Be Noble, be with us, baby. And
be ready.
Go.
Be ready.
hey, we ready. With that being said, man, again, thank y'all so much for joining us. I love this conversation. I think the people really need to hear it, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, bro. It's a whole lot more to come, being up under the guidelines of the magnificent Freddy. So I'm really excited. You know what I'm saying? That's my man. I'm gonna be educated. I'm gonna be informed, and I'll be the leader and the spokesman for my people here.
Here we go. Thank you.
I love that. We here for it. We here for it. All right, peace, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.